hit the record button and kind of pay attention and see if anybody else joins us. So for anybody who is new to YNP, welcome. My name is Catherine Swanton. I'm a Senior Manager of Marketing and Special Events at CNM, and I run YNP. It's one of my favorite things to do here as a young professional who found CNM through YNP. So I have a very special place in my heart for this entire group. So pleased to have everybody here today. Kind of a little bit of what to expect if you've never been here with us before. If you're not talking, mute yourself. Feel free to put questions in the chat or raise your hand. I want to hear from you, hear your voices. If you haven't already, update your name, organization, any pronouns if you'd like, and add your URL in for LinkedIn so we can have a chance to kind of connect afterwards, just to get to know each other. So a little bit about CNM and YNP. So Center for Nonprofit Management, we are now in our 36th year, supporting over 800 nonprofits in Middle Tennessee. YNP, it's a free group. It's designed to be an inclusive space for young nonprofit professionals to network, to connect, to share resources, camaraderie, especially as we learn and grow in everything that we do. We do have a group on Facebook and LinkedIn that I used to be so much better at engaging with that I have dropped the ball on, but they're there and it's a great opportunity for you guys to connect and share resources as well, and ask any questions that you have. We've got some great things coming up with CNM, and that's kind of going to affect what we have going on next month as well. We have, I kind of picked some workshops and stuff that we have going on coming up that I think would be really good for this group. So next week we have a workshop on how to sell your ideas to your team, which I think ties in really well with this topic that we're kind of covering today. After that, we've got a community conversation on making Nashville a no hate zone, which can't deny everybody would love to see that in Nashville, probably across the country as well. Later in the month, we have our groundwater DEI training through the Racial Equity Institute. We did it for the first time this past April, and it was phenomenal. If you have not joined, definitely join. I think we've got about 20 spots left, so take advantage of that. And then, October 20th, we have Salute to Excellence. So it's the largest nonprofit awards ceremony in the country. So we will not have a YNP event next month because there's just no way that I can do that major event and other events on top of that. So on to our next thing is the next YNP event will be November 1st. So we're going to skip October, and November will be the last event of the year. So I don't have a topic and everything in line, but if there's something in particular you're looking to see, put it in the chat, let me know, and that'll definitely help with some of the planning. So now that we're kind of all in and we've got some introductions here, I just realized I can get a Teams call while I'm in a Zoom. Uh-oh, I don't know how to do this. I'm going to tell it to ignore. Let's see if that works. Ignore. Oh, good, I did it. Okay. Look like I'm talking to myself, but we have these new earpieces here, so don't judge. We're special going on right now. So now that Teams call has gone through, I want to take the opportunity to introduce our amazing speaker, Sara Del Castillo. She has been a facilitator with CNM for over 2 years. I was joking earlier that I've promoted her at CNM workshops throughout the last few years and never had an opportunity to meet her until this opportunity came up, and she came highly recommended for my team as a speaker for this event. So she, if you didn't hear already, she's out in California doing this virtually. So we're super pleased on the time difference to have her here. But I will turn the floor over to her.
Thanks, Catherine. Hello, everyone. Super nice to meet you all. I am going to ask if you are able to, totally understand if you are not, if you could come on camera. I'm all the way in California, and I selfishly really miss CNM events and Nashville, and hope this can be more of a discussion, really, than me talking at you today. And hopefully we can spend some time getting to know each other, see some new folks are in the area. So really want to take advantage of this space and being able to talk to each other and hang out. So if you can, would love to see you on camera. I am going to so I could introduce myself and things that I've done in the past, but really what I want to talk to you about today is something I'm really enthusiastic about, which is leadership development. And enthusiasm has a lot to do with joy, being excited about something and being able to share that with others. So before we begin, I'd actually love to hear from you all. Your organizations, I'm sure, are fabulous, but right now, all I want to know is who you are, what's your name, and what is something that is bringing you a lot of joy or excitement lately that you're really excited to talk about. I'll go first. My name is Sara Del Castillo, and I have been learning how to surf with my partner. We just moved to the Los Angeles area, and I'm so bad. It's ridiculous. I look so not cool out there, but it is really empowering to not be so afraid of the water like I used to be. So that's what has been bringing me joy lately. And I will pass it to Joanna.
Hi, I'm Joanna. I work with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Nashville. I'm a grant specialist here, and you said something that is bringing me joy. What was the prompt?
Yeah, something bringing you joy or something really exciting you lately.
I just started in the grants role back in November, and I feel like I'm finally kind of getting into a rhythm. I hadn't worked in the grants world before, and so it's just a lot. It was like a wall of information hitting me, and I feel like I'm finally getting into a groove with it now. So I feel like that is something bringing me joy right now.
Awesome. And if you don't mind passing it to someone, Joanna.
Popcorn to Emily.
Emily, I'm not sure if you're there, but we'll circle back to you. Unless, oh, there you are. Okay. Yeah. We'll circle back to you. No worries.
Sorry, Emily.
Jeff, do you mind hopping on?
Hey, my name is Jeff. I just moved here from Hawaii to I live down in Smyrna, but Middle Tennessee. And what brings me a lot of joy is seeing my kids. I got 3 kids, and they're thriving here, making friends, swimming in lakes. We're from Hawaii, Sarah, so they grew up surfing. They love the water, but they're freaked out by lakes because you can't see the bottom. So still kind of interesting. But yeah, my kids bring me a lot of joy.
That's awesome. I'm sure your kids could totally show me up on the surfboard, but you're right. There's not like the beautiful crystal clear blue water where you can see the bottom of the ocean in the South. We have great waterfalls and things, but the water is a little more murky. But nice to meet you, Jeff. And Jeff, do you mind popcorning or passing it to someone else?
Yeah, let's popcorn it to Haley.
Hi everyone, this is Haley. I'm sorry I'm not on camera. I'm still in the office, so also double screening it. I am the Director of Development at the Tennessee Innocence Project, and we're only 3 years old, so we're a newer nonprofit to both Nashville and Tennessee. Although many people have heard of our work by watching podcasts or crime shows, things like that. We help people who have been wrongfully convicted and incarcerated. And something that's bringing me joy recently, separate from work, is being able to go back to concerts in Nashville because we're in Music City. I'm actually going to see the 21 Pilots show tonight at Bridgestone Arena, and very excited about that.
Awesome. Oh, I hope you have so much fun at the show.
Thank you. I will popcorn it to Camille.
Looks like we need to circle back to Camille, so pass it over to Darian. Not able to unmute. Gotcha. Oh, getting joy from getting involved in the community here. Very different from Louisiana. Ooh, Darian, in the chat, if you don't mind answering, where in Louisiana are you from or were you living? I used to live in New Orleans, and that's where my partner's from. So have a lot of love for Louisiana. Awesome. And then Catherine, oh, Shreveport. Nice. Have some friends in Shreveport too. Really good food. Well, nice to meet you. And then Catherine, I'll pass it over to you.
If I was working from home, you would get to see what brings me joy, but I have a new Husky Beagle puppy that I got about 3 months ago, and he is very cute. He is now officially indoor potty trained, and that brings me lots of joy.
Amazing. Did you train your dog, or did y'all get someone else to train him?
I trained him. This is my first time at 37 years old ever owning a dog, so I'm learning.
That's awesome. I heard it's so difficult. And Emily, are you able to hop on? If not, no worries. All right, we will pop back over later. We will have some time in breakout, some time to share out later on. I am gonna just briefly share a little bit about myself. So my name is Sarah, and I've had the privilege of working at some pretty cool organizations, one of which is here in Nashville, if you guys are familiar with Conexión Américas. And while these things are cool, what I really want to talk about is my probably number one passion in life, which is really connecting with people and developing leaders, especially in their workplaces. So this guy over here with the alpaca sweater on is my dad, and he immigrated to the US from Peru. And when he got here, he didn't speak English, but he really, my dad has always been really interested in entrepreneurship and leadership. And so he unfortunately had a job, one of those clock in, clock out, keep your head down, don't ask questions. But outside of his job and his personal life, he started a soccer league that now is attended by like 400 people every week. He ended up running for Secretary of State in Mississippi, which is so random. And he started this Latino Business Association. And so my dad like had all this leadership interest, but at work, there was just this huge gap between how his workplace viewed him, how they leveraged him, how they chose to not really develop him or see that leadership in him. So it's my passion to really transform workplaces, to open up spaces and conversations for us to talk about leadership, to talk about difficult topics, to talk about what's exciting, what's challenging. And today, the topic we're going to talk about is enthusiasm. So talking about superpowering your leadership by sharing that enthusiasm with others. So I want to ground us really quickly in kind of level set and why this matters and what is enthusiastic leadership. And then I'm going to shut up and we're hopefully going to have some cool discussions with each other. So we know that it's been several difficult years. And we also know that the road ahead is probably really challenging. There have been a lot of discussions about the economy, about the job market, et cetera. There's fear and anxiety in the air still. And I feel like in the space that I'm in, there's a lot of conversation around sustainability. And one of the things that can sustain us actually is joy and excitement and being able to share that with each other, not in a tone deaf way, but in a really authentic way. So I am going to ground us in this definition real quick. And as I read this, I'm going to ask you, actually, I'm not going to read it. Y'all don't need me to read this. I want you to silently read kind of the understanding and definition of an enthusiastic employee, and in the chat, write a word or phrase that resonates with you from this paragraph. So we'll all silently read for about a minute and then share in the chat. See some folks sharing in the chat. And if you've already shared in the chat, I invite you, like I'm doing, to open the chat and see what other folks are sharing in there. See power of excitement a few times, inspiration. And Jordan, I love what you said about vision, being like really excited about your vision and being able to share that with others. Awesome. So we're going to do something that I call a think, pair, share. Oh yeah, Haley, definitely increasing productivity for sure. So I want you to think for a second, when has someone inspired you to do something challenging and how did they inspire you? I am going to put us in breakouts of about 2 or 3 people and just want to rename that, this is a space for us to connect with each other first and foremost. Like, yes, we're learning together, but I encourage you to, if someone doesn't know you, just to say hello, connect with them, and then share out what your thoughts are to this question. We'll come back together in about 3 minutes. I'll send you guys a heads up before I close the rooms. Are there any questions before we hop into these breakouts? All right, and then I'm going to post the question in the chat so no one forgets.
I just added a few new people from the waiting room in, so.
Oh, great. Hey, everyone. Good to see you. I said at the beginning, if you can, it would be lovely to see your face. So if you can hop on camera, that would be great. We're about to be in breakouts. And the question is, when has someone inspired you to do something challenging and how did they inspire you? So we're talking today about enthusiastic leadership and how we, how we share our excitement, and inspiration with others. So I'm going to pop y'all in some rooms right now. All right, see y'all in about 3 minutes. Just a few folks, what are some of the things that you shared in your breakouts? What was inspiring, something that inspired you when you had to do something challenging?
Hi.
Hey, Jen.
I said that for me, like having people trust me with the little things is really inspiring and encouraging to me to do more difficult things. Like if you have somebody there that's like trusting you and empowering you with those little things, it really helps.
Absolutely. Yeah, trust is so huge. And it's nice too when you're not being micromanaged. Like you got hired to do your job and people trust you to do your job.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. Anyone else? Would anyone else like to share?
I can jump in. I shared that someone who inspires me is my husband because he's an entrepreneur and always willing to take risks, whereas I shy away from risks. So when I'm thinking of like challenges and risky situations, like seeing how he just takes a leap and waits for it to work out and has like the vision to plan for it is really inspiring.
I love that. So I hear you saying vision is really inspiring to you too. If you don't mind me asking, when is a time when your husband has inspired you to do something kind of risky or challenging?
I mean, I think every day he pushes me. Actually, when I took this job about a year and a half ago, I had been in a different nonprofit role and I wasn't actually looking to leave my job. I was, happy where I was and I wasn't looking for a new job. And this kind of came my way. And it was one of those things where I had to decide like, oh, do I want to try something new that I've never done before that's challenging at an organization where, they've only been around for a couple years, or do I want to stay where I'm comfortable? And he pushed me to go for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that for you. Also, I see Emily, we will see you later. It's nice to have you here. And Catherine, yes, lack of fear in entrepreneurs, or even if they are afraid, they just still find a way to go for it. Camille, it's nice to see you. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. All right. So is there anyone else who wants to share before we move on? Kara, are you sharing? Oh, can you unmute?
I don't
There you
understand.
are.
Yeah, okay, there we go. I did unmute twice. I just keeps muting me back again.
Oh, no. We can
I have
hear
a
you
new
now.
cell phone. Maybe I don't understand it. So that could be. But I'd have to say, so I've took several certification classes at the Center of Nonprofit Management. But it was I don't remember who the leader was. I wish I could remember. But I just said, just seems like we're all competing for funds. And it really pushed me into, but I had stood up and said, I think we need not to compete and work together and collaborate and, find what we do best and not compete. And I explained a couple things. And so somebody stood up and said, my executive director said that at the last meeting here, that we need not to compete and work together. And somehow the instructor goes, well, that is where funding is going. That is where things are going. Nonprofits can't survive if we don't start doing that. And it just really made me, realize there was other people like me. I don't know, I guess. And I actually owned a franchise, which is not a nonprofit, but through that, I am able to support several medical nonprofits, the Alzheimer's Association, the Liver Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation. And so I think that collaborative attitude I can't explain it, but it just sets me on fire. When people are truly willing to come together to help whatever population or cause that you've wrapped yourself around, which mine is patient, senior, and veteran care.
Yeah, thanks so much for sharing that, Kara. Absolutely. Collaboration is so inspiring, especially when we do have limited resources. It's almost like, why wouldn't we come together and share instead of recreate the wheel, or, leverage each other's strengths and utilize resources together. So I definitely understand why there's anxiety and like this fear of like there not being enough. But I do think collaboration, in a weird way, to your point, Haley, is like kind of an entrepreneurial thing. It's sometimes uncertain. There's fear around it. It can feel risky, but oftentimes has such a huge reward on the back end. So thanks so much for sharing that, Kara. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Then thanks for being here. Awesome. So I am going to invite us to engage in a practice that I think is really helpful for enthusiastic leadership. So of course, want us to connect and to discuss, and but also want us to take a little bit of time to be with ourselves. So one of the things that I found that are really effective when we're trying to inspire or excite other people is to really inspire and understand what excites us first. Like, we really have to get grounded. And I think COVID has taught a lot of us about the power of reflection, right? Like even taking 5 minutes, which we're about to do right now, to just go outside, to breathe, to journal, or to just think and ponder. So I want you to think about these 3 questions. The first one is, what is the vision of your organization? What excites you about that vision? What really, really excites you? And what is sometimes challenging to be excited at work? So I'll share really quickly. The vision of my organization, I actually work in tech now in leadership development. The vision of our organization is to make the housing purchase process more accessible and more affordable. And what excites me about that is that we are doing something no one has ever done. And we're making it easier for people to buy a home, which we know in the US is one of the best ways to build an economic foundation and economic freedom for you and your family to come. What's sometimes challenging for me to be excited about at work is limited resources and people competing for them. So let's take 5 minutes. Feel free to turn your camera off if you want for a second. Take a quick stretch. We'll meet back in 5 minutes and want you to just answer these 3 questions, take some deep breaths, journal, go outside, whatever it is that stimulates creative thinking for you. And we'll come back in 5. See y'all in a few. And I will leave this up here. Hey, Haley. To help. Gotcha. Okay, cool. Awesome. So hopefully that was a nice break. Just really ground yourself in your vision. And I'd love to hear from a few people what came up for you when you were doing that practice. I want to read really quick for Darian, and then would love for someone else to hop in. So Darian says, to help small to medium-sized nonprofits, associations with operations and provide services, resources similar to those that larger organizations have. What excited me about that is that I feel I can help a wider range of people and goals rather than being focused on one. Love that. What else? What else came up for people during this exercise?
Okay, I'll go. Some of the vision of my organization is to help seniors, patients, and veterans live their highest quality functionality, quality of life, and to find affordable housing or a community, such as a senior community. The challenge is that a lot of the nonprofits that I have linked through since COVID are just struggling. Some of them have literally closed down, like the Arthritis Foundations now, which is really the largest problem I have as far as people with activities days, the activities of daily lives that prevent seniors from living good lives. And then I guess that I'll go back to the lack of collaboration. Like I'd like everybody to get together so we could have like a venue where I think that if they saw that collaboration, that there would be more funding. And that's what they talked about before COVID, but then things kind of changed because instead of starting a nonprofit, I end up just doing a bunch of pro bono work instead or part with all because there's just so many of them and it takes so much time, and not many people that do what I do there's the I don't know if you've all heard of the area of aid, the area agency of aging and disability, but there's so limited funds. They can't get caregiving, they can't get things like that. So it's just a lack of resources that I so passionately want to help people with. Yeah.
Tara, it sounds to me, what I hear you saying is you're actually really passionate about collaboration. Like everything that you've been talking about, I feel like what I am going to walk from this conversation with is that you really are excited about that and want to promote that. And yeah, I think honestly too, are modeling for so many of us about what it looks like to share that passion, right? To like vocalize it, to be in spaces, to talk about it. So in a weird way, you are being an enthusiastic leader right now. So thanks so much.
And you all have awesome classes. Like a lot, I was going to open a nonprofit, but it was so hard. And so having the business model, and then I heard from a business leader who used to actually, he's died since, but he started HCA, because you're better to partner with strong, people promoting like area of aging and disability and all those, partner with them and get them together and to help. And then you are to start one, because then you're just doing the same thing. So he really inspired me. His name was Joe Green, and it was Columbia. And then he started Community Health Systems. And so, but that's what I did for veterans. The veterans is called VetLinks. We try to get collaborative partnerships to all work together. I just think work together, we can help whatever group it is, especially by proximity too. Important, right? Because you can't be everywhere. And so I feel like so often that's the only way, because we're competing for the same, we're competing for, or nonprofits are competing for that, where what I end up doing is, because I don't have that funding, is I'm giving my time away free. So I work an ungodly hours. So, but the collaboration, I think that's why I took so many classes in nonprofit. But I remember that being such a key thing, that nonprofits can work together and they could give to a pool in order to help a group. For instance, it could be and or patients. I think seniors might be better. I think when you put in disabled, there is a lot more for disabled people than seniors. And in regards to housing, in which you do, they are the least protected class. I'm also a realtor because I try to help them.
Got a lot going on.
Well, but I only connect to realtors that are going to help get them the most out of their home. Collaborate with the realtor to get the most out of their homes, because that could mean they could get 5 years more of caregiving, or they could sell their $700,000 house, get a $300,000 house. Well, maybe, okay, 400 in this market, and then get some care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us how you're already starting to collaborate in the community. It sounds like you're already kind of grouping together your different strengths and abilities and your connections in the community. So
But it sounds
that's
like
something
your
I was going to say.
organization
That's
a lot, though. I
yeah.
think.
No, and I hope that's something that we can do in this space with the time that we have left. Is someone said something to me recently, and it really inspired me. They were really enthusiastic about learning and development, and they were like, so many of us seek resources and information and articles and podcasts externally. They're like, but the way that I've learned best in my life is learning from others and like listening and being curious in conversation. And I really loved that. And I was like, man, well, we're gonna have this happy hour. So I know people are just hopping on and want us to go into one more breakout so we can spend some more time with each other, learn from each other a little bit. So what we're gonna do for the next kind of 6 or so minutes is share out what you reflected on, what excites you about the vision of your organization, but what's challenging sometimes about being excited. And then with your group, I'm going to share screen because there's a second step. I want you all to come up with a kind of collaborative. So we're going to collaborate per Kara's advice. So I want you guys to collaborate and create a list of 5 qualities of an enthusiastic leader. It can be less, but just try not to do more than 5. So I'm going to pop you all in breakouts, and we'll be back in about 6 minutes. And hopefully, not hopefully, I'm going to ask each group to share out what those 5 collaborative qualities were that you guys came up with. So we'll see you in about 6 minutes. All right, bye.
Just throwing caution to the wind, but also somebody who's willing to create a culture where taking risks is safe, where you can try things, throw out ideas that may or may not work, but I think that creates an atmosphere and a culture where people are willing to contribute, and like where they feel like safe to throw out ideas. And that they're have the ability to fail and not get like publicly disgraced in their organization too. Like if they try something and it doesn't work, because that just allows for the organization to grow and for people to grow.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks so much, Candace. And for those of you who don't know, Candace, in my opinion, is a risk taker and is a very enthusiastic leader and has garnered up, like, I think the first time I met Candace, we were in a room of like 100 people and you were launching like your new nonprofit, and it was so cool. So I'd love to know from you just one piece of advice you have for us here of how, of how you show up as an enthusiastic leader and how that's helped you in your work in Nashville. How do you bring enthusiasm?
Put me on the spot.
I know. I like interviewing Candace.
I don't know if this like directly answers your question, but I feel like something that's really important to me is that I empower the people that work for me and really like work with me. Like we have 2 employees or three of us total. But like when Tanatsua came on staff, she came on to do things that I have zero idea about. So she does all of our data assessment with all of the participants that we work with to provide self-care plans. She also does all of our social media and marketing pieces. So 2 different worlds, but also worlds that I like don't understand. And so I hope that she feels this way, but I really try to like 100% trust her to like do her thing. And you know, she's like, I think we need to do such and such. It's like, okay, great. Like that's your job. That's where, you know, the world that you know. And so I try really hard not to like micromanage and like be like, okay, show me everything you're working on. And so I hope that I can do that with the new employee that we just hired as well, who's going to do more community outreach and networking, to really empower her to just, you know, run with her role. And like she just we were talking today because we do a self-care summit once a year. So we've done 2 years of a virtual like online week-long conference. And so this year it's going to be a blended in-person in this room that I'm sitting in, and also online. And so she had just started with us on a very part-time basis, but it was supposed to be September 12th. And we were just like slammed and up against the wall and not like, we didn't have enough time to pull it off and do it well. And so she was like, this might be a bad idea, but what if we postponed it? And we were like, Tanatsu and I are both like, put our heads down and like, we're determined we're going to make it work. And we never would have considered postponing it. And now we're pushing it back to October and it's no big deal. And we're like going to be able to make it so much better than it was going to be. So I was just like really excited that she was brand new, but still was like, what if we tried something? Like, is this crazy? So I guess to short answer your question, I really try to help, or I really try to like emphasize, like, this is your skill set, this is your knowledge area, like you're 100% in charge.
Yeah. So really establishing and showing that you trust people, and then kind of giving them the freedom to kind of take it and run with it. And creating safety. I love what you said about creating safety. That's awesome. I know we're coming up to time. I want to hear from the other group, but really quick shameless plug. We've heard from some really cool speakers in here. Catherine was telling me that there's some folks we haven't seen before. So I encourage you all, if you have a few minutes after we kind of break from this training, to really just talk to each other. I think, I'm not gonna lie, I think I'm awesome. I definitely think I have things to share, but what I think is most impactful about this space, really the purpose of this space, is for us to connect with each other. So I'll stay for a few minutes after. Would love to see some of you all after, just to kind of hang out, get to know each other, and really see who's who in Nashville and what's going on in your world. And for example, I'd love to come to the Self-Care Summit. Candace, I'm going to reach out to you about more information for that. So cool to hear about that. So please stay if you have some time. And then who else from the other group can share with us the qualities of an enthusiastic leader that y'all came up with?
We came up with a few. Team builder. We talked a little bit about how people who are enthusiastic, sometimes if they don't have a team of enthusiastic people, or if it's not contagious, I think that was something you had written earlier, then it could fizzle out and cause some burnout for themselves or others. Camille shared, what was it called? A society of optimistic people or something. You can hop in and kind of share a little bit about that, but
there's a whole optimist society with the foundation. I learned about that today. So it's talking about how enthusiasm, I feel like, also tends to, in my mind, go to optimistic, and they see that goal and they're positive we're going to get to it. And so I was just sharing that little fun fact from today.
I love that. Camille, what's it called again?
I think it's the optimistic. I feel like I have like 30 tabs open. I might still have it. But it's a society of optimistic people. Oh, here it is. It's the oifoundation.org if you want to look it up. Optimist International Foundation.
Oh, wow.
That is so cool.
Who knew?
Thanks for sharing that. Who knew? There's so much on the internet. That is so cool. Also, again, just love learning from other people. This is my favorite thing to do. Sorry, I came with a PowerPoint. I had to have it for a few things, but if I could, I would just like never have a PowerPoint and be like, let's just learn from each other. Yeah, thanks for sharing that. And then Jeff, I'd love to know from you, since you shared out, what's a time when you had to use optimism at, in a workplace to really get people excited about something? Maybe, things were difficult or challenging or morale was low. But I'd love to know a time when maybe you used optimism in your work and how it impacted other people.
And before I moved up here from Hawaii, I was an elementary school principal. When COVID hit, you talk about optimism. I mean, had to be the eternal optimist and, keep assuring and reassuring people of their safety, their health. I mean, all those things. But when you're the leader, holy cow, it is crazy to continue to try and be optimistic and enthusiastic and all of those types of things. But I think that's where I learned a lot about, like, you can't just be the only enthusiastic leader. You have to find what makes everybody tick inside of your organization, what lights their fire, so to speak, and then, really bring it out and leverage them in that way. So, that was a time where, I mean, all we had was enthusiasm and, a lot of unknowns, but the enthusiasm definitely helped with all of that.
Yeah, thanks so much, Jeff. I think it's really cool what you shared too about understanding not just what excites you. Obviously, positivity is, a great place to start, but what excites other people? What makes them feel positive? Really building trust and relationships and understanding how to be responsive to that for people. So love that. Thanks so much. Before we hop into breakouts and hang out for a second, is there anything else that you all would like to share? Any takeaways, anything that you want to share with the group before we transition to just kind of hanging out with each other?
The only one thing is that when I kind of had quick with the whole nonprofit world, I had my cards made. I was going to do it and just to try to help people, because so many people do not really know what a nonprofit does. People assume they do. So having an operational person who clearly defines what the organization does. In other words, we spend and have like 3 or 5, no more than 7, usually less than 5. We spend this much money in medicine. We do care baskets. I'm going to use, because I really like the there with care, someone who clearly defines what they do. That's one thing. So I'm going to say that in that a leader, an enthusiastic leader, has to have an operational plan that people trust is going to work. So they think, if I give to There with Care, I believe that, that they're going to be able to help 30% of the family with getting medicine for families, and that they're going to be able to recruit more people or pharmaceutical companies that will give financially, that they are 30% of their goal now, but they have the team, like he was saying, to go and financially get to our goal of paying for care, respite care for 8 hours, so the parents can get out and don't get burned out and depressed and not be able to be good parents. I'm just saying, really listing what they can do, because if you clearly have an operational person who can speak, we can do these things, because so often nonprofits are so passionate, but people don't really understand what they do. But when you're able to say, we help this many people with medicine, we bring this much with food. And I love, like, for instance, with There with Care, that they went out and saw model organizations that did that. So they're not recreating the wheel and spending all the time and money to do that. That really spoke to me, because good organizations find something like that's collaborative, right? To go and find something like, well, we want to tweak this and tweak, but boy, we like these 4 things.
Yeah. To learn from others. right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that operational person who is gonna help all these visionary, creative, loving people who to ground it and put dollar signs that people are gonna say, okay. And then you get one donation for the Ingram Foundation. Martha Ingram went to college, her grandson with my son. You get one donation from her, your NP could be set. You know, if they truly believe you have the operational person and financial people and the operational person who can create and initiate and keep a solid board that are spokes into the community.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Thanks.
say that in less words. I'm sorry.
No,
I was
no,
all choked up about learning about there with care, so I'm not really thinking well either. So anyway, no, my son
I
was in the
appreciate-
Ronald McDonald House and we lived there 3 months, so it was just wild. So anyway, yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate everyone sharing. And this is, we can definitely continue the conversation. I'm going to pass it over to Catherine in a second, but I just wanted to say thank you all so much. It's been such a pleasure being here with you all. I think I only knew like 1 or 2 people before I hopped on this call. So it was great to meet people from around the world, from around the country, and just hear about your experiences and your expertise and leadership as well. So thanks. Catherine, I will pass it over to you.
Awesome. That was absolutely fantastic, Sarah. It was just really good and just good content and refreshing. And it's nice to hear that the participating comments from you all, you know, in the group and just hearing what you guys all have to say. And I think it's very empowering to me. And I'm really appreciative for everybody coming today because it's really try and pick some good topics that, you know, are outside of the traditional nonprofits, you know, things that can really help advance, you know, you and your career and your relationships with your peers and help you have ultimately more opportunities to really truly grow. So thank you all for coming. We have a small group, so I'm thinking maybe not just do a breakout room and just hang out and chat for a minute. I'm going to stop the recording